Today, this is episode 1 of the Divisionary podcast, a new The Division and The Division 2 podcast coming straight to you, focused on the game and its community. And I am Wolf of Cherno. On Twitter, you may know me as a Division nerd, nut, and nutcase. And I like to do art. I'm working on cosplay for The Division. I also have streamed and done a bunch of other things since like 2013, 2014. And I just love the game, and I love the community, and I want to have different people on. It doesn't have to be different every week, but I decided to bring this podcast back. We used to do a thing called Dark Winter Radio, but that ended, and I think we're going to be going a lot further with the Divisionary this time. So, Splintrshield, you might as well introduce yourself, and then everybody can go around to Keelan, then Dave.
I am the hunter. Can I just say that?
Yeah, sure. Great introduction.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, I'm Matt Shields. Splintrshield is kind of my gamer tag. Been in the Division community since launch, well, maybe even a little before launch. And cosplayer, lore hound, and survival enthusiast.
Indeed, you are. Matt Shields is also one of the guys who has started Survival Saturdays on Twitter. I'm pretty sure you started at least, right?
It was actually me and BB504.
Yeah,
I want to give him credit.
So you're one of the first people to do it.
Yes, absolutely.
And Survival Saturdays is an event where every Saturday they get a bunch of people to queue up in Survival, so the matches are more full up, and it makes it just a complete... shall I say fuckfest, but it's great.
The awesomest fuckfest ever.
Yeah, awesome. Keelan, you might as well introduce yourself. You're well known to a lot of the OGs, but a lot of newer people in the community might not know what you do. So let us know.
Getting there. Gonna have to one-up Matt over here and go, I'm Batman.
Yes.
But yeah, so I am Keelan Grace, now known as Keelan562, going back to my original gamer tag from back in the Xbox 360 days, because I couldn't come up with a better cosplay handle. Let's see, been in the community again since before the game launched, right there trailing behind DB Dave, who's going to be the next fella that we were going to be introduced to. One of the first wave cosplayers, along with Dave and Hunter here. I believe number 3 out of all of us. Yeah, it was first it was Lomix, then it was Dave, then it was myself with Shields right behind me, and then I believe Variable was rounding out that first 5, and she was the first female cosplayer for the Division.
Really?
So, yay
Yes.
for female representation on our team.
There you go.
And yeah, so aside from, the cosplay, did a little bit of other content, was trying to get a web series up and started, and we got as far as the first pilot episode being online. The second episode got shot. It's just there were some production and post-production issues, so we had to kind of abandon that, and when we were going to start it up again, we unfortunately lost one of our locations due to construction.
Yeah.
But we were mentioning earlier, we're going to hopefully try to pitch it again as a potential side part of the comic book series. So if I can get in touch with anybody from Dark Horse and manage to get that ball rolling, that would be great, because the story that we started to show everybody, we'll be able to actually finish and show everybody.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I want to
Fingers
see.
crossed on that.
I want to see more so badly.
Yeah. DB, you're up, buddy.
Cheers. Yeah, if guys all know me on social media, DB Division Cosplay on Twitter, or the DB Division Cosplay on Facebook page, and same for YouTube. So I've been a cosplayer since 2013. Yeah, as Keelan explained chronologically, it started from there, and got to know online actually before the game came out, Keelan and Matt through various circles, RPF for example. and got invited to be a star player 2015, and actually had the honor and privilege to actually meet Keelan in LA at the UB Lounge. Got to meet in person Shields and Evan
Hi.
one day. Hopefully that dream will come true.
I'm hoping.
It only
Yeah.
took Matt and I 3 years,
2 years.
3 years.
You eventually found each other.
And yeah, just hooked up with Evan. Was it the alpha or beta stages? for the
We
division?
played together in both stages. Yeah, we played in the alpha and the beta together, and we also, DB has also been a beloved co-host back when Dark Winter Radio was still in session.
Yeah, it was great to be part of that. Great to be here, of course.
Absolutely.
What else? And just people probably most know from my cosplay work is a few of the skills like the Seeker Mine and or Sentry Turret. Now working on a Hive from the Division 2, which Keelan's also working on as well. And keeping my eye over my shoulder for a hunter, whether I'm online or out in a convention. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm also involved with other projects around in the community. I've been a guest host on the Locked On Tom Clancy podcast, which has been great. And just doing little projects here and there, whether it's a little bit of art or a bit of poetry or
Or
vague.
a little Just Dance.
Yes,
Oh,
I was about
yeah.
to mention that.
There you go.
Yeah, take a little cue from Foxy over there and
Yeah.
get a
Yeah.
BB suit going.
Fox dancing
Kick
in
my
a
butt.
fursuit. Holy crap, that must be hot.
Oh.
He was
The
telling
man
me.
is- no
The
thank
man
you.
is brave.
He was telling me I'm probably just gonna dance in my Decabi outfit from
I think he.
R6.
Yeah.
Hi, Rempency.
No.
I'm not even
Hey.
I'm not even responding.
Nerds.
I'm not responding negatively to that at all because I am a nerd.
No.
Dead Man said Dark Winter Radio when we were all noobs, Division forums more so. I remember the old days before the game launched. Those 2 years were great. And we're just like, when's the new gameplay? When is there going to be something new? We gotta dig. But that's how we are now with the new game, and we're just back at it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's definitely going to be a long road, and it's going to be an awesome road. So thank you guys all for joining in live, and also
My
anybody
pleasure.
listening in on any of our iTunes pages, Spotify, or wherever we're at next. Thank you for listening. All right, so moving on with the show, now that we've introduced what we all do, we'd like to discuss what we're going to talk about on each podcast, whether it be weekly, bi-weekly, or whatever the plan begins to be. Basically, this podcast was created to focus on the Division and the Division 2, obviously, as well, I always say, as the communities in between them, because this show, it's not going to be like state of the game or anything. Obviously, we're not trying to copy them over there, but I like to, Twitter community has a big following for the Division community, and I think we can show off different screenshots and new things that not just popular community members, but like all community members are doing, something that's really cool that could be featured on the show, and we could obviously just show that off while we're talking about new things that came up. I think that'll be pretty fun.
Sounds good.
I
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah, but because I know the Division does agent highlights and they show off community work on state of the game, but then there's also some things that they might not see, and maybe we can show that off. Who knows?
Agent Highlights is only so big.
Yeah.
They can only
Yeah,
feature so many things.
Obviously, yeah, and they like to get things that are obviously have either an impact, but or just things they thought were really freaking cool. But there's a lot of little smaller things that we can maybe show off too. And I'm not saying like, oh, they ignore people. No, I'm not like that at all. I'm just saying like we can show off a lot of other stuff too.
Yeah.
Hi,
Absolutely.
Smokey. Hello, Big Smoke. How are you? I see you in there. What's going on back there, Dave?
That's not me.
Oh, Matt, you okay?
Somebody's
Keelan.
somebody's hunting the hunter.
Yeah. All right. So I think what we can start talking about is our
They
first.
really want that shield.
Yeah.
He's like the last one. He's like, I'm gonna get you.
I think we could talk about our first topic now is what the Division 1 had is coming back for more, like what they've added, what new changes have come in, and like just what came us coming back. And that's what episode 1, the comeback, is kind of all about, because we're all pretty big veterans of the game, and I guess we can just, talk about what came back. So what is your guys' favorite thing that brought you back to the game over time?
Matt, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I'll lead off. My big the thing that's kept me going and is the same thing that attracted me to the game in the first place. There's lots of other games out there that overlap the space that Division takes that are like sci-fi or fantasy. But from the very first time I saw that first 2013 trailer, and I was like, wow, this looks so immersive, being that it's in our present day and everything. I'm sorry, my son's kind of banging on the door.
Oh, that's okay.
And that immersion is kind of what kept me just loving it. I love the look of the game. I love the feel of the game. I'm not the biggest PvPer, although I obviously do participate in some PvP. But so a lot of the issues that have been frustrating a lot of the player base, like in the Dark Zone, I will admit I haven't been as dialed into as others, but yeah, that immersion and the story and the themes in the game have kind of got me into the game and has kept me here this whole time.
I gotcha. Yeah, but definitely, Keelan, what do you think?
Kind of following off on that. I'm also not a huge. I'm not a competitive person, so the PvP thing. I understand the appeal, not personally for me, but I have participated. I do participate on occasion. But I love the being able to be immersed in the world, and definitely with like the lore and the richness that's in there and the depth that you can go to in there, and how like for those of you who were on the Sherpico podcast last weekend, and when they were talking about all the hunter lore and theories and all of that, it's been out for so many years and we're still able to go back and dig these little details and come up with these fresh ideas that maybe it's exactly what the developers were thinking, maybe it's completely in the opposite direction, but that we can still this far go back and discover new things, or something that's been in front of us the entire time and we never really paid attention to it, that there's those details in there I love. And just how it, like a good movie or like a good book, it makes you think. And then they interviewed me at the Ubisoft Lounge this year, and they were like, what is it about these games that appeals to you? And I was like, when you can somehow invest yourself into it to the point where it makes you think about the decisions you're making in game and how that ties with the decisions you make as a person. Like, okay, yeah, I'm a morally upstanding, I'm gonna do this because it's the right thing to do and it's what needs to be done shade agent. But is that the type of person that you are, or the type of person that you want to be? And just a game that can make you think on that level of personal philosophy just has so much appeal to me as an individual. So things like that, just feeding into all that process, that's what's kept me coming.
Yeah, completely understandable. Dave, what do you think's kept you coming back to the game, man?
Probably a mixture of the release of content over the years and the discussion with fellow community members about the lore, and how things in the lore can affect like real life situations for us. Like Wild Max, for example, some of you people don't know, he works for the CDC. I work in health, so we often shoot news about viruses at each other, and how that could affect people in the game and agents and so forth, as an example. So that constant lore, the constant discussions in the community with all sorts of people, the constant sort of like achievements and like the commendations you got to sort of chase that are coming out over time is what kept me in it as well. And survival and also Matt's sort of what's the word? Keeping the node sort of living and active in the community. That interest in that, which is tied into the lore, as well as what's kept me going. And yet there's all these little tidbits that you're finding in survival. Like I know there's discussions recently about agents. You guys were talking about in the show the other night, the agents in the dark zone. You find their bodies. Sort of wondering what's happened there. Those really interesting ties that have kept me going over the years and it kept me interested. Yeah, that's how it's done it for me. How about yourself, Evan?
Basically, as Keelan was saying, just the amount of painstaking detail that they didn't have to put in, but they did anyways in the game is what personally has always kept me coming back. There's always the Snowdrop engine is honestly the perfect thing that they could have utilized for a game like this. It's the amount of detail, like shooting a sign that's metal and looking at the other side and seeing like an impact mark on the other side that's like convex and concave on each side, or shooting individual panes of glass out. Those are little aesthetics that get me, but seeing them all work realistically is just crazy. And just seeing
Absolutely.
how it all just works together properly.
Yeah.
That's just always what's kept me back, and always just the, the graphical engine and everything, that just, all the colors, and it's beautiful. And smoke comes back to kill noobs. I also do that too.
Yeah, there you go.
Plus, it's just great that the game has had the community that it has. And I think we mentioned that way back at Dark Winter Radio, that the community is so supportive of each other, and so for the most part, with very rare instances, just positive, and we all love the same thing, and just you get two of us in a room and time flies, and the conversations get louder and more energetic, and just being able to feed off that positivity and excitement and everything. Not a lot of fandoms have that as consistently. Granted, it's relatively new. It's not like it's been around for 80 freaking years or 50 years like some sci-fi franchises and what have you. But just the fact that even though as widespread as we are and everything like that the community is fairly close knit like it is. I love that. I sincerely love that. It's a true community.
Yeah.
It's not just a fandom.
Now that you mention that, yeah, the community is honestly something that has always kept me coming back. It's, you see other communities in games, and they're actually really close together, but before the Division came out, I never noticed a community that's ever been as strong, Like, I've never seen anything that's been so well put together. And now that Ubisoft has had all these different programs and stuff, where they actually recognize higher community members and all the work that they put into keeping the community together, it's just something that I feel has kept a lot of people wanting to play the game, because they just want to find, new friends to play with, and it's so easy to do that here. And McDad, the community is lit. Absolutely.
It is.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, moving on, the favorite moment that we've all had while playing the Division 1, what's your, I know it's kind of relative to the previous question, but you can honestly say it, what's your most favorite thing if you had to pick one moment that's happened while playing the game? What would be your favorite thing that you've ever done?
Oh man.
I'll start this one.
Okay, you start. Somebody else start this time.
For those who couldn't see, I totally raised my hand. Hey, my turn. No, one of my favorite moments actually happened recently. One of my best friends, those of you on Twitter have probably seen me tag her in posts at Blinky Bunny. She just got into gaming. I convinced her to get a PS4 because I bought her the X-Files Blu-ray, and I was like, "You need a Blu-ray player. Get a PlayStation."
That's
so
a
the
good
Division
excuse.
the Division is her second game. Monster Hunters are first, the Divisions are second, and we were playing it. So I started a new character just so that I could, help her progress and everything and kind of show her the ropes. And we were doing that one side mission where the cleaners are in the underground area and the sewers, and you have to like manage the different pressure valves around the area while they're coming and going.
Oh yeah, the water.
And as we go in, like I
levels.
told her, I was like, okay, take cover here, and then I was explaining. Now remember the cleaners. If you do it just right, you can hit the tank and it'll light up and explode. Before I even finished saying that, she just comes up, shoots like 3 bullets, and lit one. And I was silent, and I was like waving my hands in the air in excitement and everything like that. And being able to go back to that
You're
and
just like
experience that excitement and everything again, that has to be
you're just
my
like
favorite. So
wait.
probably running through the game with her again is going to end up being like overall a favorite experience because it's reliving, the memories and everything like that. But having that excitement of her pulling it off like that,
Yeah.
that's probably a recent highlight for me.
You're just like, wait, that happened? What happened?
I didn't even finish telling her what to do, and she did it, and I was like, okay, I'm backing off. Like,
All right.
I'll take care of the
You
valve.
go, girl.
Yeah, exactly. Get her on HGG.
I told her
There you
to,
go.
she's a little self-conscious, and she's, a baby gamer. But I told her, I was like, hey, they welcome everybody. They will help you better than I will.
Thank you for the host, Deadman. Oh, but yeah. Matt, do you have a particularly favorite moment you've had?
There's a bunch of favorite moments. In fact, one of the moments was actually with DB Dave in the early days of the division. But I've got to say this one. I didn't get the New York Collapse book until I think it was I think I got it for Christmas the first year of the game. So like 2016, finally got that New York Collapse book for Christmas, and so I start going through it, reading through it, and solving the puzzles. And I think my favorite moment was once I had kind of solved it's been out for a while, guys. I'm sorry if this is spoiling anything, but you've had time to get the book at this point.
It's all on the internet.
But after figuring out the puzzles and figuring out the final location that they give in the book, and going there and going like, oh, like April and Koopman were here, and like that was such an awesome moment. Like figuring that out and then going in the game, like figuring it out in the real world and then going in the game and like finding it. That was so cool. And today I found out that the novel that Alex Irvine's going to be writing, it's going to be a novel. It's not going to be sort of like a found artifact like New York Collapse was.
Mhm.
And I'm kind of disappointed, but at the same time, I'm like, well, I'm betting there's still going to be some riddles and stuff in there.
Yeah.
I'm kind of hoping for that. Kind of hoping to get another moment like that.
Absolutely. I completely concur. But before I go on to like my favorite moment, which it's kind of a doozy. Dave, did you say yours already? I'm not.
No, I've got a few.
All right.
There's not just one single. Couple at the start after the game first came out. Actually, before the game came out, when we were myself, Evan, I think Tubby, and a few other community members were in the alpha and beta stages. We're just having fun, doing the emotes and shooting pieces of cars off and just figuring out the fun of the game.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like
Back
that?
then, exactly. Probably one of the most funnest moments I've ever had in gaming. And then when the game came out, getting Matt and Vari on PC's tour guides around parts of New York they hadn't yet explored was heaps of fun as well. Probably a bit more recently, last year sometime, towards the end of last year, Idle and Fox and I got on a Xbox session. We were hammering Coward's Corner in the DZ, basically up for Manhunt with a whole bunch of other people just trying to nail these guys. And in the middle of it, Foxy just randomly turns rogue on me. Shooting me in the back.
Sounds like him.
That sounds like something he'd do.
So then I went rogue on him, and it was just this back and forth. And then after that rogue timer went out, we were just standing in the middle of a group of other guys, just randomly like mixing a standoff, just all killing each other off. And then him and I just set the whole server off on like a rogue fire almost. Yeah, there's probably those few instances are good examples of probably the best times I've had with the game.
I gotcha. Yeah, my favorite moment was still in the beta. I'm not saying I haven't had fun in the actual game, like especially from 1.0 to 1.8. I've had so much fun, but the best moment I've ever had so far was running into Deep Fried Dave, like right before I'm about to leave the DZ checkpoint. Like I literally am like 10 feet away, and all of a sudden I see Deep Fried Dave just walk out of the checkpoint and look at me and just not move at all. And I'm like, oh my god! And he raises his gun at me, and I raise mine to him, and we just kind of like turn around each other, and then do like a 90-degree turn. I go straight to the door, and then I'm immediately on Twitter like, hi Deep Fried Dave, how are you doing today? And he said, hello. It's nice seeing you here. And everybody's like, wait, what are you guys talking about? And I said, oh, we just found each other in the DZ. It's nothing. Go back to your business. And they're like, wait, what? You found each other in the Dark Zone just randomly? Out of all the millions of people that were in that beta, you found each other randomly.
It's very much when you tell the story, it's one of those, you had to be there.
Yeah, you just had to be there to understand what happened. Because I think I was playing with you, Dave, maybe. I think you were there. I don't know. I was either with you or I was playing with some other personal friends, but it was honestly so much. It was so funny. Reaper says, in the trailer, one guy screwed his friends. Yeah, Ryan decided to go crazy on his on Megan and Bronson.
Which was not the character's original name.
It was Nick originally.
It was Nick, because I remember at the masterclass.
Yeah.
In 2015, talking to Ryan, who was the director, and I was like, "Why'd you guys? Did you do it like to kind of like for you name him Ryan?" And it's like, I don't know why they did that, and I was like, they should have named it Nick, especially now. And he's like, why? And I was like, because he screwed his friends over. You need T-shirts that say Nick's a dick. He laughed so freaking hard, and he was like, oh my. But I didn't think about that. He's like, that could have been graffiti on the wall. And every time I go into the Dark Zone, I look to see if that's ever written there.
Yeah.
I remember there was a meme that came out after the 2015 trailer. It said, you either live long enough to become a Ryan, or you either die a Megan, or you live long enough to become a Ryan.
Yeah. I remember that too.
Yeah, Smoke said Nick is me. Yeah, like just kills like a solid group in the DZ and skips the cleaners, goes straight for Bryant Park and just destroys a group, then leaves his own group and kills his friend. I'm like, yeah, that kind of sounds like Smoke. Yeah, if you guys don't know, Smoke's an avid PvPer in chat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's
everyone. I absolutely believe
he is a quote unquote toxic player. Exactly. He just said it. I don't even have to say anything. He just said I'm toxic in chat. Skiboski117, how you doing, Jalen? Nice to see you here. But yeah, those are just some crazy moments that have happened in the game, and you know, it's like it's good to sum these things up in like one episode, but then we can go deeper into different topics as different episodes come along. He's a friendly toxic. Yeah, you got to make sure you know that. Oh my gosh. But
like Toxie the Toxic Avenger.
But now that Division 2 has had its E3, you know, showing, it's been shown. It's been a month now since it was shown at E3. And they showed off several gameplay. People got to play their own gameplay of it at the Air Force One, and they go into that. Where's the area they go into before Air Force One? It's like that little building area.
A little art museum.
Yeah. They go through that little area. Because I know Shields, you were at E3, and Keelan, you guys were at E3 this year, so you guys must.
Yeah, we were both there. We both were able to play it.
Yeah, that's awesome. But that actually goes perfectly with this question. So how do you guys think the game feels compared to the first game, like based off of mechanics, based anything, you know? Like how does it feel different wise?
You want to start this one, Matt?
Keelan, Keelan, why don't you lead off?
Okay. The controls are definitely improved. They're not drastically different. So you play the first one, going into the second one, seamless transition. It feels a little bit
Keelan,
more.
how do you play Division right now? Like, what platform do you play?
I'm on
right now?
PS4. So
Okay.
so every time I had to, since we had the Xbox One controllers hooked up, every time I saw the X, I would hit the wrong button. But it feels a little bit more intuitive and kind of going back to that sense of immersion. For example, in terms of healing, it's no longer just like a friggin' adrenaline pin where you hit the button and it pops and you just have to wait 2 seconds for the animation. Now that it's changing out plates of armor, you have to hold the button down. So you're holding that button down while the animation is happening, and you're basically you're waiting for your character to move before you can do anything else. So that puts you in that mindset of I need to hurry. The panic's starting to set in depending on what enemy is around. The cover system, it's definitely going back to making sure that you remember this is a cover-based system. There's no longer just
Hello?
Whoa. Hello.
Who just left?
What just happened?
I don't know what just happened.
What the
Keelan's back. All right.
okay. I think I'm back.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
As you were saying.
So with the cover-based system, it's making sure that you remember that's what this game is supposed to be. There are some things that I noticed that I wish were included. For example, we're not able to go prone. Neo, which that fits more with Ghost Recon than it does with a game like this, especially
Yeah, a game like
cover-based.
Division, you wouldn't expect to have a prone system. It's not like Wildlands or
That
anything, or
NPC
Siege.
snipers do go prone.
On Division 2.
Terrain, they will go prone, and I was like, so maybe our sharpshooter, like, wow, that's our suggested. Maybe that's an additional feature.
Can I drop shot somebody with a 50 cal?
If you time it just right, you can. Standard NPCs that are running around, yes, like you can.
All right. Just one tap them.
The armored named enemies. I think I shot one maybe 4 times just because they were armored before
with the sharpshooter.
With the 50 cal. Yeah, I had the chance to play each of the specializations.
Oh, and you got all the patches for those, I assume.
Yeah, I ended up managing to get all the patches.
There you go.
Right at the end. They had to send them to me because they didn't have them in the lounge with us. They were just like, we'll get them to you. And I was like, you guys are awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm as excited as I was when the first game was coming out and being able to play the demos and everything for that.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you said like 4 shots from the sharpshooter, is that like 4 shots to take his armor off, or 4 shots to kill the big armored guy?
Moving. I believe I got the same armor twice.
Okay.
And then it was gone, and then it was just like it was a different piece of armor. The final shot was back in the chest, and he was down.
Yeah, because that's something a lot of people have been.
Matter of making sure your shots are consistent. But
yeah, a lot of people have voiced their opinions on bullet sponginess since 1.3. And then they started to improve it over time.
Well, since the game launched, to be honest.
Yeah.
When I remember with the beta, like people were giving that feedback way back then.
Yeah.
Just, the enemies were too bullet spongy.
Yeah, but with Division 2, there's definitely, because your character takes a lot less damage before they get downed, and same for enemies. They get shot much less than Division 1, even after its improvements now.
Yeah, and the enemies that have 0 armor to them, really, they go down lightning quick.
Yeah.
You're just like a double tap, and they are gone. So it's like those idiots with a baseball bat rushing at you definitely pick the wrong weapon to come at you with.
Yeah, and
they learned that the hard way.
Look right at them.
But
If
then
you,
it does.
well, I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
go
You,
ahead.
no, you go ahead.
I was gonna say it does make you, since you have a armor and you see the meter for the armor going before it gets to your health.
Hmm.
That helps put you like the right type of on edge, so that when you're like, okay, my armor is low, I need to be careful because after that armor is gone, you can get wasted
You can get like
super
two or
quickly and
you can
everything.
get 3 or 4 taps
Yeah,
or something.
and then especially once a named enemy comes by and you're like, crap, like please don't light me on fire.
Cunningham,
So it's
yeah,
all great improvements from what I was able to briefly get to play.
yeah. Cunningham in the chat said that's a good thing, but does it take away the RPG element of the game? Kind of like
I
healing.
can't I can't say because we don't know how in depth
Yeah,
the
we don't.
builds
Yeah,
are.
we don't
So
know how.
without knowing how gear is going to affect us
I,
and everything, I don't think.
I'd like to chime in on that,
Okay.
Go for it. Go for it.
and also answer kind of the basic question. So Cunningham, in some of the interviews that were done at E3, and in some of the demo footage that you can find online, I saw this firsthand, but you can see that uh, the devs talk about how the bullet sponginess was an issue they wanted to address. So instead of enemies being more bullet spongy, they made enemies harder to hit. They're using cover. They're
Yes.
ducking.
Yeah.
They're dodging. They're moving. They're more. There's more AI. The AI is a little more clever,
Alright.
and you'll notice that when you play. Um, so as far as like, does it take away from the RPG element? No, no, I don't think so at all. I feel like the changes they've made have made it more immersive. I remember when I was in high school and I was getting into RPG games, is because I wanted to get into them because of the immersion.
Hmm.
You kind of get into this little world with your friends, and you're talking through it, and you're imagining like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and this, you're just immersing yourself in this RPG world. I felt like the changes they've made have made it more immersive. Things make more sense.
Yeah.
Um, as
Absolutely.
as a PC player, I'm used to the keyboard and mouse. So when I'm playing the demo, I'm playing with a controller. Um, but despite that, even though I mean, like, it's not like I think the only actually no, I think the only time I ever played Division on a controller was when I was in Sweden, and I was playing over there a few months before the game came out. But be that as it may, as I played, I mean, it felt different, but it all felt familiar.
Hmm. Hmm.
I never felt like, whoa, this just feels like a completely different game. I did not feel that way. Everything felt, to me, it just felt like it made more sense. And like I saw, like as I'm playing, I'm picking it up pretty quick. Like, oh, okay, so this is the heal. Like I'm thinking of it as the heal button. And of course, now we know like it's not really healing. You're
Yeah.
really switching out armor plates. I love that.
I love that
Mhm.
too.
I love that. I was one of the few guys, like when we went over to Sweden, I was one of the few guys when we were talking about it, where I was like, did any of you guys kind of get like, not like it when you saw in the 2015 trailer how they're using like these healing grenades? I saw that and I was kind of jolted out of my immersion.
I remember
'Cause-
that. Yeah, when they're in the dark
yeah,
zone in that first part, and then they
yeah,
switched it
you
out
see
for
them in there.
they switched it out for a launcher.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so they're using the, like, and it's just I think at that point in the trailer, it was like healing grenades instead of the launcher. But you see these green particles kind of go over the guy, and like, like as a gamer you get it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm watching it and I'm going like, well, wait a minute. Like everything else up to that point had felt so
Right.
realistic, so immersive, and I saw that and I was like, that doesn't feel like the other stuff. And so when I
Yeah.
saw
That,
it,
that was the one element that was a little too on the RPG side
yeah.
of things. Like
I mean, now,
the traditional.
when I talk to other players, they're like, "Yeah, it's an RPG. I mean, it's okay." I was like, "Yeah, I guess you're right." Um,
You were talking about the AI being improved.
No, that just like how the AI has improved to the point where the enemy is aware of if you're focusing attention on one particular NPC, the others will become aware and be like, okay, they don't see me or they're not paying attention to me. I'm going to move to a better vantage point, and that's something we never really had aside from the hunters. We
Because
never really had that in the first one.
Yeah, the moment in Division 1 when you
So
see
all
that,
steps in the right direction.
when you see that red triangle, you just go deeter. You're like, oh shit.
DB, how about you, buddy?
Yep. Well, I was just listening on your experiences. From what I can tell from Division 2, not getting hands-on. Can't wait till I do. But certainly the maps look larger and spread out, like what we saw in the demo with that Air Force One crash site. Certainly looks a lot more tactical and more spread.
Oh no.
Oh no, Dave.
That was a weird face to freeze on.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
You guys can't see the video, but
Yeah.
And you're also horrible. Yeah.
Oh my
There
God,
we go,
what?
yeah.
Okay, Dave is back. All right.
Oh,
Dave, you dropped out on us for a second there.
oh, sorry. Sorry.
You were talking about how it seemed more spread out and more tactical.
This is gonna be
Maps.
edited, all audio listeners.
It is. No.
Stop that.
You're freaking me out here.
Not funny. Evan's having a heart attack.
I know.
Sorry.
As you're saying. Oh dear.
And now he is stuttering again.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Oh no. What if I turn off the camera? But
Yeah, turn
Right.
off the camera.
There you go.
Yeah.
Because you're not.
There we go.
There's no cameras on stream.
Sweet. Yeah, the maps, or the map from what we saw from the demo, certainly looks more spread out, more tactical. There's more. You got to be more aware of your elevated positions and your flanks, like Keelan said, and be more situationally aware of where the enemies are, what they're doing. There's not that enclosed verticality like in New York, where you got the high rises and like there are monuments in the Division 1 in New York. Don't get me wrong, but what I saw from the E3 demo for the Division 2 just seems, yeah, more spread out, more draw distance, more, what's the word, effilades and things like that to be conscious of. So yeah, quite like that aspect.
Yeah. I know they wanted to note that they added. New York had how many? Like only like one kind of real biome going on with it, you know.
Oh yeah.
And I think they said in Division 2 there's going to be 6 biomes.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they wanted to note like a lot more because New York is just a bunch of skyscrapers when you get down to it.
They said like 2. They said there were really only about 2 biomes for New York, and that was basically the urban,
the neighborhoods,
there was
and
urban, and then there were like
business.
parks.
Yeah, kind of things.
And you know, they were kind of counting underground as part of the urban because it's all just concrete
Yeah.
and stuff. And yeah, and they really like how they've been able to bring in a bunch of different biomes this time.
Yeah.
I heard, someone mentioned in an interview that there was going to be like forested areas, vegetation, and yeah.
I cannot wait for that. And I know on Division 2, a small aesthetic feature they had to throw in was a grass grass deformation, like when you walk on the grass, how it just like stamps down.
Okay, I'm gonna assume Evan's talking, but I can't hear him.
Oh no! Can you guys in stream hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, just making sure.
It's odd. I can hear Matt. I can hear Dave. I
That's
just can't hear Evan.
that is
Yeah, okay.
weird. Rejoin the call, man. But yeah, like grass deformation. I noticed like somebody mentioned on like a wing of the plane. Like if you step on one of the like little flaps on the plane, it like goes on, like down with your feet. It's just like little aesthetic things that they're throwing in like way more than they did in the Division 1, and they just keep raising the bar with Snowdrop, and it's just awesome.
Yeah, it's so cool.
I just can't stop saying it's so cool. But I want to note something Big Smoke said. He said the running in the game looks like bad, like it kind of looks like Wildlands but worse.
Let me, if I could speak to that real quick. Most of the running, like I've heard people comment on that. When I was playing it, the running never felt weird to me, and the only running I've seen that I was like, oh yeah, that does look kind of weird, is I think when they were doing the live stream and the streamers were playing it on the laptops. and I think they had to turn down a lot of settings of the game for the laptops, so the laptops could handle it. Um, I don't. I mean, this is one of those little things that I'm sure is going to come out as soon as the beta drops, but I don't think we really need to be worried about the running.
Yeah, I know it's kind of something that they want to like keep in that they wanted to change up how things looked like compared to the Division because in the Division like your character just running with that animation over time it maybe kind of got old. But with Division 2, they kind of want to make it a little bit more immersive and cinematic in a way. But you also
Now,
have to
now don't get me
yeah.
wrong. There, it was a little different. I feel like in the current Division game, your character's movement is very light. When like when you go and you change directions and you're doing your combat rolls and sprinting around the town, I feel like the way he moves it feels very light. I feel like in Division 2, there's a little bit more realistic weight to the movement of your character.
Yeah, like the way that your character traverses through different elements of the environment in Division 2. Say like I don't know, like how he like kind of jumps over that wall like outside of that that goes onto the road that takes you up to Capitol Hill, like right outside of that art area, kind of biome little thing where the little outpost is where the civilians are at. If you go to those
Yeah.
things, like when we jump over that wall, it's just like the animations just look a lot clearer, and the way that your character like hops down like that little like sinkhole kind of thing and jumps up out of it and goes into cover to cover movement looks a lot, just smoother. Like it looks smoother, yet it also looks more cinematic. Is definitely something.
Yeah, I'm thinking that
And I
there's a
love
lot
that.
more motion capture of movement that was done to kind of add that
Hmm.
to the animations
They've
this time
definitely
around.
added a lot.
And considering that there's the change in terrain level that there is this time around, where before it was mostly uh, collision
Well,
detection,
Yeah,
oh yeah.
not like straight edges and everything like that. Where now they took that into consideration, and that affects, like when you're say on the wing of the plane, and that's at an angle moving, and it looks like their weight is shifted slightly versus how they run on flat ground. So a lot of
Yeah. Yeah.
that physics seems to have been taken into consideration this time around.
yeah, it's definitely something just like what they've done with improving the Snowdrop engine and how it can handle different things from Division 1. Like Division 1, as you're saying, was all collision detection with like hard corners. Like, oh, you're at a little potted plant that's a big block outside of the DZ. I mean,
Yeah.
outside of the boo or something, and you can only go like
Yeah.
90-degree
Or, like-
angles around it.
Yeah. It's like here's a pile of trash bags that you can run through.
Yeah.
Either it was over detection or no detection.
Yeah.
Right. True.
I'm back.
Welcome back, Dave.
There we go.
But yeah, Dave, from your experience of like watching gameplay or anything about Division 2, what do you think? How do you think it kind of looks like compared to Division 1? Like, what's your favorite feature, I guess, that they've changed?
It's gonna sound weird saying this, but it looks cleaner but dirtier at the same time.
Yeah.
Cleaner in terms of the visuals, but dirtier in terms of the atmosphere, just the little details they got on the sides of the streets. I know there's a lot of detail in Division 1, but it just seems to have up the scale even more.
Exactly.
So I love that attention to detail, especially with the more vegetation as well. As for the
I'm really excited to see that.
Sorry for what?
I'm sorry. I was just saying. I love that you are loving that on that detail, and I'm excited to see more of that.
yeah,
In the
Exactly.
trailer, when like they walk out and you see Arlington Cemetery, but it's all been grown. Like there's all these shrubs. All the grass has grown up and there's shrubs growing there.
I want to go
Like, you-
there.
You never see Arlington Cemetery like that.
No, you don't.
And I saw it, and at first I was like, "What? Wait, what is this?" And then like it dawned on me. I was like, "Oh, this is Arlington." and I was like, oh, and so I was freaking out. But that same thing where, and I'm sorry, I feel like I'm probably talking over you, but just how you're saying like it's cleaner and dirtier. You know, Washington D.C., capital of United States, yeah, it's always clean, and so to see you know, contamination, you know, contaminated areas or evidence of you know, like there's that one picture of the Washington Monument, which is the huge obelisk for those not in the States that don't know, with the, you know, sort of the chunks taken out of it, and it says unity on the base of it. I was just like, oh man, like I'm so on board.
I am too. Like, I did a lot of posters, like a lot of fake Division 2 posters, like art for,
Oh
because
yeah.
I was bored and having fun at college. The first one was like an assignment I had to do. Then I made like 3 more. But the first one I ever did was Washington D.C. and it was before Division 2 was even like announced to be in D.C. We didn't even know till E3, and, until somebody like took a picture of the banner at E3 like a day before their showing, and I posted that, and it got a lot of hype from people, and no developers really said anything about it.
That's like when I had that one conversation with Hamish and was telling him all the ideas for the web series, and he just got really quiet, like,
Yeah,
How good are he with?
I thought like, hey, I had a good discussion with somebody about it, about how it could be in DC, because, you know, like where Keener's going in the end of Division 1, he's trying to take it a step further. And I always thought, well, Washington D.C. is near New York. It's not like there's a lot of working cars there. And I feel like DC would be like the best thing they could do. And
Oh yeah.
DC is in the game. It's 7 months after the virus hit, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hottest summer of the year, and just
Well, hottest summer in years.
oh, in years, yeah, obviously. And just
I
see,
wasn't gonna say anything.
yeah, what were we gonna? And just seeing all the Christmas stuff still up while it's still sunny outside is just another way that they've still expanded on the first game.
Yeah. It's actually got me really interested. I've never been much to the US, but really interested in finding out more about Washington DC. So I've been watching like the designated stuff, looking at maps of DC and
Yeah,
looking at monuments.
Oh yeah.
I've actually visited Washington D.C. and looking at gameplay, I'm like, yeah, it's pretty accurate.
SHD Max, he's originally from that area.
Yeah.
Really?
So he was like, he was talking about, and he you know, since he virology and stuff like that professionally, he travels there often. So his looking at it and his talking about like the amount of accuracy they're able to put in. He's like, yeah, New York looked great. It looked like New York, and he's like, DC, it looks like DC. It looks like they did what they did to get that accuracy of New York times. They're going to the small details.
Times a very large number, yeah.
20% bigger map, yeah.
Yeah, I'm down for that immediately. Smoke said, "Where do you guys think the boo is at?" Oh, that's a funny question. I don't think there is a boo. I think there's just the main division HQ.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that would make more sense.
Well, yeah, but you could say that is the boo.
Yeah, you could say that's your base of operations, but it's also just, it's not really like a base. It's kind of like just your headquarters.
Yeah, you're not
Right. No, I see what you're saying.
Because where the government is what creates the division agents, and you know that's where they go, like probably to train or whatever. So where else would they have it other than Washington D.C.?
Yeah. Sure. No, we're not sure about anything other than the
We're
game
not sure.
March
Yeah,
of next month.
we're not sure about anything until we can get our hands on it, or until
True.
we can see some early gameplay and dig through every single piece of footage again.
I'm
But
looking
he
forward
raises
to
an
it.
interesting question. It makes it. I'm actually going to pull it up on Google Maps
Oh, yeah?
and kind of take a look and just make some guesses as to where possible locations where the boo might be.
Hold on. I saw an interview on a I saw an interview from Variety Gaming, I think. They talk about something about the headquarters there from like a interview, I swear.
Oh.
Like, I'm not trying to get anybody's hopes up, but I'm pretty sure that they noted that this is where it is. If you guys read this article, I'll put it into chat. If you guys check that out, you guys can look that up. But guys, if you guys are listening at home, go to variety.com or look up variety.com and look up the Division 2 hands-on interview, and you can see this article, and it notes something about their headquarters, and they don't go deep into it, but they literally just say like DC is where the headquarters of the Division has suddenly gone silent.
Well,
and that gets me going
let's
crazy.
not forget the secret mission. I'm doing the air quotes with my fingers here.
Secret.
The secret mission in Westside Piers. There's that audio, that distress call audio.
Oh really? Oh, how does that go again?
Have you done the Division, the secret mission? I mean,
I haven't done it, but I've seen walkthroughs of it, and I need to get back on it. I transferred over to PC, and I'm trying to do everything on PC now. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's basically just this thing on a loop where it's like, how's it saying it? Omega distress call, all agents report to HQ, kind of a thing where it's kind of trying to, it's like recalling the Division agents back to, wherever their headquarters is, and it lists a bunch of cities. That they've lost contact with, including Ann Arbor, where there's a big viral lab, and Atlanta, Georgia, and there's other places overseas as well, which was leading to a lot of speculation. Is like, oh, maybe Division 2 is going to be in Paris or London, but Washington D.C. was also there.
So in that cinematic trailer, when they're walking into DC, like from the forest in Arlington, they're coming from a different city.
Well, yeah, they've said that though. They've said this in a bunch of places.
Yeah, I remember that.
When we start Division, we are now seasoned Division agents coming in from somewhere else, and so I'm presuming that that's because we got this distress call.
Yeah. Because I know the story is mainly about a faction-based coup or something that's being formed in DC, and they need as many agents there as possible to try and save what's left of the capital of America.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. And the Dark Zone is another thing I want to note in Division 2.
Yeah, I'm very, very eager to
see that.
For them to show us.
Because
taste of what they have in plan for that.
In New York, it looks like a kind of like rickety black fence that they put up that's super tall with a bunch of black tarp on it. But in DC, this thing's made out of stone.
Concrete barriers, yeah.
Giant concrete towers, kind of like if you play Dying Light and you see the quarantine zone, like the outside of it. It's just a bunch of concrete pillars like stacked up next to each other, and it looks crazy. And it's all overgrown.
Let's talk about that art direction for a second, actually.
I'm excited.
Because here's the thing, if you get into the lore and the story of Division and the Dark Zone, the Dark Zone started out as the quarantine zone. And basically, the virus hits, hospitals fill up, then morgues are filling up, and they need to put these bodies somewhere, so they start dumping them in Central Park. They realize they need to start securing these bodies, make sure people aren't stumbling across them or like trying to go find their dead relatives or something and getting sick themselves. Yeah, these bodies are dangerous because they're spreading disease. So we need to start putting them somewhere, start doing that, and they start putting a wall around Central Park. And if we go up to DZ North, you see that the walls around Central Park are concrete.
Cheese pizza.
What?
What? Cheese Pizza 01, Cheese Pizza 02?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the CPO one, yeah. I'm still hoping for Central Park, by the way.
It's.
But
I think it's a little too late now.
Hey,
I don't know.
Are you sure? Maybe. I don't know.
I'm not sure. No, I'm
They
not
might.
sure.
They might give
could
us
they could give us one last surprise,
one little goodbye kiss.
or we
Yeah, there you go. But just to talk, I just wanted to mention the art direction. So we have these concrete walls around Central Park, and then they're like, okay, we need to institute some security here. They start setting up this quarantine zone, and from the lore, I believe that the quarantine zone started at Central Park and spread south.
Hmm.
Now, of course, the DZ, we have DZ 01, 02, 03, and they go north. But I think that was a numerology they came up with after it fell and became the dark zone.
definitely agree with you.
But you can see, but yeah, you were saying how like there's kind of flimsy wall. They don't seem that flimsy to me, but I see what you're saying. Like these things were meant to be able to be set up hastily and have some strength to them, so they could the military could sort of patrol and maintain these walls and keep people out. And I think it's gonna be very interesting starting to discover the lore behind the Dark Zone in Washington D.C. I remember when we were all talking and speculating about Division 2 and like what city it's going to be in, people were saying like, well, is there going to be a DZ? I mean, obviously the Dark Zone or, Quarantine Zone, whatever, failed in New York. And I remember at the time going like, I think there's going to be a DZ. Never underestimate the ability of people to look at what somebody else is doing and go like, oh, well, we can do that better. They didn't make it work, but we'll be able to make it work. And
That
so,
little bit of civil engineering arrogance.
Yeah.
Well, it's something to that effect, like plus, I mean, not to mention like Dark Zone just kind of seems to be part of the Division game formula. If you're going to have a Division game, it's kind of like, you kind of need to have that Dark Zone, I think. So yeah, I'm really interested in, like, is that concrete wall? Are we going to see that all around the Dark Zone? Or is it at this one part? I mean, because remember the part that we were seeing is very close to the Capitol building.
Uh-huh.
And so maybe over there it's going to be a little more reinforced, and then in other places it'll be a little more hasty construction or more temporary type construction, like we saw around the Manhattan DZ. I'm interested.
I'm also curious about how mentioning before the Dark Zone in the Division 1, considering the timeline with the pandemic, to try to control the spread of it as much as possible. Now that caution isn't necessary, what is it that's still making it quote unquote dark zone? That danger that separates it as much as from the light zone as possible.
True dangers running
Quarantine.
running
Yeah, they're not
into
trying to
random
quarantine
players.
anymore.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because the disease has basically died out completely
Yeah,
at this
essentially
point.
it's died out. And I remember they mentioned that like what the new threat is. I can't remember the term that they use. Whatever the new contagion or contaminant is, but how does that play into
hazardous chemicals?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
When the trailer they went and
the sinkhole.
down in the sinkhole, yeah, and it's like hazardous
Yes.
chemicals detected.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
I
so
remember
how
hearing
is
that
it-
and going like, oh,
into it versus the viral aspect from Division 1?
I
So
do.
I'm curious how they go with that.
I remember one thought I had was, well, the big when you look at the dark zone in Manhattan, the big thought I'm having is like, well, with the population so decimated, they're not going to have time to like get a sizable enough workforce into the dark zone in Manhattan to bury all those bodies
Not at
before the season starts thawing everything out. Like it's going to be a mess.
They never
And
did.
so a thought that I had was like, I wonder if what they do in Washington D.C. is they get some kind of acidic chemicals, and they just go in there with a larger crew as they can. They're just like spraying down the bodies to try and get rid of a lot of the bodies as much as they can.
The area is just so
But
saturated from it.
Yeah, and like maybe there's just all this, hazardous residue from that chemicals or something. But I don't know.
It definitely
That could very well play into it. Yeah.
definitely gives a new reasoning to continue to involve the gas masks, and obviously you need gas masks to make good builds, so you need to have a sixth piece in there, because what else would they do if there wasn't a gas mask? Sunglasses? I don't know.
They do nothing.
Oh, they could come up with something.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
Pom-pom hat. I don't know. I got my my Rick Velasi's backwards baseball cap on, guys. Time to get I don't know. I don't know what kind of perks that would have. Big Smoke just said, "Oh, so like the chemicals that the NPCs can shoot at you."
no, the chemical they shoot at us is immobilizing foam or riot foam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something different. That's where it's that is an actual real thing. That's not made up or anything. That's a real technology. It's been out for, I think decades at this point. But basically, you carry kind of a cumbersome tank, or they'll put it into security systems, where so somebody's trying to like break into a door they're not authorized to go through. Then they'll just spray this foam on them, and it thickens and hardens. In fact, you know what the best example I've seen on screen of this is actually in the Ang Lee version of the Hulk, that
Yes.
weird Hulk movie. They used the immobilizing foam on the Hulk, or try to.
Oh yeah, the 2003 film or whatever.
Yes.
I remember that, and he's like breaking through it as hard as he can.
And,
they're
and
shooting.
that's exactly what you have to do. Is once the foam
They're shooting a grenade launcher at him, and it's just breaking the foam, and he's getting free.
in the game, once it's sprayed at your feet and you're immobilized, it requires other agents, like they need to shoot at the foam to chip away at it so that you can break out of it. Otherwise, you're cemented in place.
Exactly.
Temporarily.
People
like
are.
You can break out of it, but if they shoot at it, you get out quicker.
People were talking about like, when will agents be able to use riot foam, and I'm like, that's not something that agents should be able to look forward to using. That's something that the NPCs are just going to use against you, and you have to find strategies around it. But I'm always open to suggestions.
We never got flamethrowers in
Yeah.
Division. I wouldn't expect that we're going to be able to use riot foam either.
I mean, we can use it
I don't
against them in terms of hit the tank.
Yeah, exactly.
Essentially, those are the new flamethrower cleaners.
Yeah, we finally have.
If you're looking for an equivalent.
Yeah, you got a crossbow, you got a grenade launcher, you got a 50 caliber sniper. I'm trying to think of like anything else heavy that people would maybe want still. That isn't a skill.
What is it? The
No
what was the
miniguns.
gun that Predator?
There's art for Division 2 that shows flamethrower.
Really?
So I think I would not rule flamethrowers out. In fact, I would say that they probably wouldn't want to rule that out either. Like, give us more. So like now we've got all the same kind of threats we had in Division 1, including flamethrowers, plus we've got the NPCs with the defibrillators, and we got the NPCs with the riot foam, and I would not be surprised if we see other new threats.
Yeah, I definitely.
That would be.
You can kind of flamethrower somebody if you have like that special like thing. It's like a sticky bomb kind of thing, but it launches out this gas, and if you shoot the gas, it just lights on fire.
The chem launcher.
Yeah, the chem launcher. You can kind of light somebody on fire from that, like a flamethrower, but.
True.
But Big Smoke said, I can't wait until there's a riot foam turret. See what happens in DZ PvP.
Oh, that would be kind of cool.
I would be scared. Somebody make a turret cosplay style that shoots like a fire extinguisher smoke or something.
There you go, DB. It's your next project.
He's like, I'm actually thinking.
No pressure.
He's like, I'm thinking about
no
it
pressure.
now.
Already
I'll see what I can do.
There's cans of expanding foam from hardware stores in his backyard.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm already 2 steps ahead.
Just make it shoot silly string in your set.
Yeah.
Everyone will love that.
Honestly, yeah. People will
That
make
would
it,
be
people will be like, "What is this?" It's just silly string. Don't worry. It's like I
But
can't
it-
move.
it stops them for a second to figure it out. Thus, they are immobilized.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Smoke said, "Do you guys want to hear my theory of the base of operations?" Go right on ahead, dude. But while you're
Yeah.
typing that out, we don't have a lot of other topics. We just had some small ones that we expanded on today. But what do you guys think of the specializations
Love it.
as a replacement
Yeah,
to the
love it.
to the ultimates?
Yeah, I couldn't think of anything better myself. I love it because like there were people going like, oh, it's, what was the criticism? I heard some criticism of it, and I was like, no, this is exactly that. They're saying like it's going to like because there were only 3 specializations or something. They're like, oh no, there's not gonna be as much diversity. I was like, no, you don't understand. Like this is the opposite. It's gonna be so much more diversity because we'll have all the guns and the gear and the stuff that we already customize and tweak and min max, and then there's also going to be all kinds of min maxing with this. Like we never got to min max anything with our signature abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Like with the whether you got the 50 cal or the crossbow or the grenade launcher, like this is going to be deep.
Yeah,
And
There's
then
gonna
I
be so many ways to customize and just whatever play, however you want to play. It
And
seems
if I
like-
remember correctly, when after the master class this year, and when you and I were talking about the specializations and everything, we were talking about how that can strategy with the team that you build, like how
Yes.
many members of what team have whatever, or when it comes to the raids, how many demolitionists would be
Mhm.
on in order to be most effective, and that balancing that comes with having those. And that kind of brings back into like how traditionally you have your ranged DPS, you have your melee DPS, you have your tank, you have your healers in a traditional RPG, and this kind of takes that but makes it tactical. Absolute step in the right direction.
I'm just waiting for a raid of 8 demolitionists going at a heavy with grenade launchers at the same time.
Definitely be in there. That's part of the reason why, like, for seeing the thumbnail where I call it Thumper because it makes things thump.
Oh yeah.
That's part of the reason why I was nerding out, and I was like, you guys revealed the game, and you guys revealed that we have grenade launcher in it, and I was like, guess what I bought in February?
I'm thinking,
I'm like, you guys need to stop my Amazon.
I'm thinking due to the heavier caliber strike power of these specializations, we're going to see heavier, different enemies, maybe vehicles, maybe that gigantic minigun that we've seen. Some of the artwork,
the minigun. That
Yeah.
gun goes on like the bottom of like a warthog, like fighter jet or something.
Oh gosh.
The one that goes
Like-
Yeah.
right when they jumped over that wall and they were walking by the Capitol, people thought that was just a sound effect. I'm like, no, that's a really big gun. It made the birds fly away. Oh wow, Smoke, you made a big message. All right, if you watch the Xbox gameplay when he looks at the map and it says Theater Restoration. Also, if you do your research about where and Ford Theater is, which is across the way from the White House, it only makes sense to have it there. They have 2 stories, and it would have audio tech to send out signals like the one in the Secret Mission. And he's saying that guy's listening in about a Ford Theater for a theory of the base of operations for the Division 2. Keelan
Yes,
just,
and
yeah.
yeah, with the part that he just pointed out about how they mentioned the theater restoration, that makes perfect
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense.
because everybody was
Absolutely.
thinking about what do they mean by theater, like
Yeah, like
what was that in particularly connected to? If that pans out, then that's absolutely logical.
I'll give you full credit to that, Smoke, if you called that one correctly, because that looks highly
Dude, 6
plausible.
months from now, we're all gonna be calling you a genius.
We're gonna be
It's
like,
him.
you
He
know,
called it.
we'll be like, you know who said that? Big Smoke on my stream. He said that right there. Ty, he got it.
History has been made this night.
Yeah, but that definitely sounds like a plausible thing. But did you guys get to look
If
at?
it's not Ford's Theater, Lincoln's Waffle Shop is right across the street from it.
You're right. There's
Could be
also
down there.
you
Because,
could.
you know.
Are you looking at
Waffles.
Google? Are you looking at Google?
Yeah.
You're looking
Yeah.
at Google Maps right now.
Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln loved waffles, dude. Right after he was, cutting down trees, he had some nice waffles from the maple syrup.
I was gonna say that's how he got his syrup.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah.
Hey, it's another plausible location.
You called it.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting. Lincoln Memorial.
Yeah,
Oh,
Lincoln
man.
Memorial.
How that would be, considering the state of the location and everything.
That might be a control point.
Well, wait, but is that the one? I think that's the one that we see in the trailer where it's got like contamination sheets of of plastic draped over.
No. I mean, it's in the game, but I mean, as like, how would they have that?
How would they use it in the game?
How would they utilize it in the game? Like how they did with the when we had the art museum out, and how there were the multiple ways of approaching, that aspect of the mission and everything. I'm curious around a memorial like that, where space, leading up to it and everything. How would that be? How would the level designers, the location?
That's a good question because there were a few minutes of the Comic-Con panel that happened yesterday that somebody uploaded to YouTube that I found earlier today.
Ooh.
And Julian was talking about the design process in New York and how they would, they're like, hey, so we have these different locations in New York that, it's New York and we have to have these certain locations, like the example he was giving was Madison Square Gardens.
Okay.
And so he's like, so in a crisis situation like this, how would the location be used? And, historic, like from actual crisis situations, they know like, a location like this would quite feasibly be used as like a distribution center. And we know that, it was used as distribution and field hospital and so on. And he's like, and then add another layer to that, after that's been going on for a while, what else could happen there? Well, it becomes a target for looters or rioters, and all the stuff that we know has happened at Madison Square Gardens now. But they're talking about these different layers. So he said like we use this same process at Washington D.C.
Mm-hmm.
And so you look at some of these memorial locations. I mean, there's just lawn and trees around them. Possibly could be used as also as distribution centers, but I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
It raises a big question. Like, well, Monument Place, if it's set back away from the street, away is that's a big question. It raises a big question. I know that okay, we have seen the Washington Memorial, and how there's some chunks taken out of it.
Yeah, that was in game, like not cinematic, so it's actual like that's what you'll see when you go into the game.
Right. So it makes me wonder, like, well, are we going to see just that there's been fighting around some of these other places? Not because they're a strategic location, but just because people were like trying to get in or get out, and military were chasing them down, or a police force was chasing them. I don't. There's all kinds of possible scenarios, but when I think about what Garrity was saying, I'm going like, I don't know what they would be using these memorial locations for. Doesn't seem like strategically they would be as useful as a place like Madison Square Gardens for distributing stuff. So maybe it's just these memorials are just getting in the way of a broader, some other bigger action that's happening. And I'm just thinking in terms of like some kind of combat.
Yeah.
In the chat, Big Smoke
It's a
mentioned
plot.
that
I think
the Lincoln Memorial as a raid location.
Raid location. Oh man,
I would like that.
we got to protect the memorial, man.
There would have to be a lot of stuff on the outside of that area, because
That's what I'm saying.
yeah,
Like how are they going to dress the environment?
because
for
I've been to Lincoln Memorial in real life. It's like 100 flights of stairs, and then the outside of it's just like empty lawn and pathways, because there's just so many
I
people
just
there.
did have a thought. We know, like, remember World War II? There were a lot of important locations that they just sandbagged the hell out of because they were like,
Yeah,
okay, if a bomb drops anywhere near
Oh
here,
yeah,
we want this place protected.
yeah.
Makes me wonder if
sandbags
some
ain't
of
ready
these
for barbed wire.
locations, like Lincoln Memorial, they might just like have a bunch of kind of protective stuff put around it to kind of protect it, and
kind of
then
like outside of Capitol Hill.
yeah,
Yeah, I could see that happening definitely. Uh, yeah, I see definitely like that with Capitol Hill, Lincoln Memorial, the White House. The Washington Monument didn't really have much on the outside of it from what we've seen, but it already kind of got screwed up. So there's not much you can do about a giant pillar in the sky.
right.
um, Smoke said, I would say fighting civilian villages, True Sons camps. Yeah, the True Sons are the one faction we know about so far in the game that are kind of like a JTF that have kind of disbanded and made their own faction kind of thing.
Well, we know the leader of the True Sons was in the JTF. So
Yeah.
somehow he made it up from New York, and he's kind of in control of this group. But we don't know, like, are the other True Sons, are they from the DC area? Are they also JTF? Or, like, we don't know any of that yet.
I think
See, and something that I was hypothesizing about when you guys were doing the stream about the hunters.
Uh,
I'm wondering if a way to bring the hunters back into the game is a connection to the True Sons where they've reorganized the LMB.
I
They're-
can talk.
they're-
I
they're how
can. I
they've
can
been-
talk about that. I'll tell you what I think. Because I would say it's a little more separate from what you're thinking. Here's the thing, like we remember on the Washington Memorial how it said Unity? I thought that was
Yeah.
very interesting because Unity, and then the game is called The Division.
Ooh.
And I think that we're going, and we've heard in the audio like how they're talking about how, and on the website how they're saying there's
A coup.
what was the wording? Just that there's a remnant of a corrupt state lurking in the shadows, ready to wage a new civil war. Some wording along those lines,
Hmm.
right? And so I think that they're kind of setting the stage for these themes of like unity and division. And if you guys are familiar with the hunter theory, I think that the hunters are these guys that have been sort of set forth to be a check on the power of agents if they decide to go rogue. But I think that at the time, by the time survival happens, that they've basically been given the order like, no, all agents are a threat. Take out any division agents you come across. And I think, if I'm a division agent and I start seeing evidences of, or start running into these hunter guys, and then I find out that these hunter guys are part of the division, this secret part of the division that's supposed to be taking out rogue agents, but now somebody somewhere has decided that I'm a threat, and I've been putting my blood, sweat, and tears into saving what remains, but no, somebody's decided that I need to die. Oh,
Things are about to get bad.
vile betrayal.
Yeah.
suddenly Keener's side might not be looking so bad.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where when you just think in terms of antagonist, protagonist, the villain, you see the logic in what they're saying. You don't agree with the methods, you don't agree with what's going on, but you're like, I understand.
I see how you got there.
This would be that extra little, this would be that extra little push where it's like,
Yeah.
I get it. Not only do I understand your perspective, I can see that being a push. Yeah.
So I mean, I could elaborate on that, but basically, that if they're putting hunters in the division, and any like the hunter theory, some of it is speculation, but a lot of it was just me trying to look at what was there and just read a little further into it and figure out like what might they actually be, what might have been their intent. And so, if they're using Hunter, and I'm fairly certain Hunter, they haven't said anything, but I mean, let me put it this way. I'm 95% sure that not Hunters are in the game.
I would be sincerely shocked if there are no Hunters, or at the very least, a Hunter equivalent.
Or something worse. Yeah, because if there's something...
One per hand.
If there's something worse, I'd be even more scared.
I think this would, I think that would be the way to put them in, where it ties into the story, and the other thing that I say in the Hunter theory is that I think that we're going to be, from the way that they constructed that extended echo with Keener at the end of the story missions in Division, from the first time I saw that, I was like, I feel like somehow, somewhere, they're going to give us a choice to maybe ally, maybe say, okay, loyal to Division, JTF, whatever, or maybe go rogue, go with Keener.
Yeah.
I've felt that way for a long time, and they've also said that there's going to be a twist, and so I'm wondering if that's the twist.
That might just be it. Because that sounds the most logical, unless they bring in some other faction that has done something completely different. And I don't know if there is going to be one. We never know. They've surprised...
I was just looking at chat. Big Smoke Tie's like, something worse?
Yeah,
so copy of me.
Yeah, Smoke is he is the one hunter in the game. If you see Big Smoke join your game in the DZ, just run away. Like he will find you. I've seen him and Matt Goesbuck and all them playing all the time, and they honestly terrify me. Like they go absolutely nutty on people. But yeah, definitely. The Hunters being in the Division 2 seems like a plausible theory, and it seems like something that we can't live without, because I love the Hunters in Division 1, and I want to fight them, and I want to cry when I see them again in Division 2.
I mean, they're honestly they're one of the best parts of Division.
Honestly, yeah.
I would agree. There are in Division 2 to see them return, because you don't have that oh shit moment like you do. Gear starts getting glitchy and you know that they're around. You don't have that with the regular experience. Once new players, once you get to that point where part of the game again, like you get into a comfort zone, and then these dudes come by and they smack that comfort zone right off your face.
Yeah,
sometimes literally.
Yeah, when you're playing a game of survival, you get comfortable by having a good gear loadout, and then you get to the end and you just start shaking because you're like, oh no, I have to deal with him.
It's the same thing with Underground. You get through and you're like, all right, cool, finish this mission, and then you're like, why aren't you telling me to go to the elevator? Why aren't you telling me to go to the elevator?
Because he is here.
Where do I go?
Why aren't you telling me to
go to the elevator? You're like, oh!
And then you're in a crossfire of 2 turrets and 2 turrets and 2 agents. Yeah. For those of you that solo, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're in a group of 4, you got 5 agents after you, but
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
or 5 hunters, excuse me.
yeah, but uh that is a lot of crazy stuff we've talked about tonight, guys. And I
So
think
went a little off
oh
off our list
oh no, yeah, that's
in
kind
the
of
best way possible.
that's what's supposed to happen.
Oh yeah.
But I think it's been an hour and a half we've been going for, and I think we should try and aim for about 90-minute podcasts or so. So I think we can maybe start wrapping it up now, guys.
Feels good, man.
If you guys want to throw out your Twitter names or whatever you guys have for your, links, if you want to plug something, you can let everybody in chat know, and make sure you say your name again so our listeners know what's going on.
Matt, let's go with you. Let's just go clockwise from.
All right. Well, my Twitter's up there on the screen at Splintrshield with an E missing from the splinter, and that's the best way to kind of track the hunter.
Yeah.
And as always, Survival Saturday, every Saturday. For those of you who don't know, so survival enthusiasts, we love a little PvP survival. PvE survival, the player counts are still pretty good. PvP survival, you're lucky if you get 5 people in a game. And so for those of us who want to get back to those glory days of 24 people in a round, we just started putting the word out and saying, hey, everybody queue up at the same time. Let's all play at the same time. So we, the more of us are playing at the same time, queuing up at the same time, the more of us are all getting into one round together. So just check my Twitter. I have the details up there. I don't want to go through all that right now. The second thing I wanted to announce, we are doing Survival Tournament August 10th.
Yes.
Check my Twitter for the details on that. If you want to get in on that, last I checked, we still had about 17 slots open. And if we fill all 24 slots, I will host that tournament in full Hunter regalia.
I'm gonna get in on that tonight. So.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good times.
Alrighty. Keelan, do you want to go for your plugs and whatnot?
Sure. So yeah, Keelan Grace. Twitter is up there at Keelan562. You can also find me on the rpf.com at the same handle, and I mentioned it to the boys before we started the podcast. Having been working on a prototype for the Hive for my cosplay, I completed it earlier this week, and I'm going to be build of how, like, the process that I did for that going up tomorrow morning. So look for that.
Awesome.
Probably look for that within the next 12 to 15 hours over there, including first reveal of how the light up feature looks.
Cool. I can't wait to see that.
That'd be awesome.
That's awesome.
DB, you are next, my friend.
Thank you. You can find me at Twitter at DB The Division, or I've got a Facebook page, DB's The Division Play. Do have a casual YouTube channel, same name, DB's The Division Cosplay. Also occasionally a guest on the Locked On Tom Clancy podcast, which is a podcast hosted by a group of cool Aussies, Wilco's own Mr. Buttersocks and Cal, and their producer McDad, who I don't know if he's still in chat or not. Yeah, that's where I am. Evan, where are you?
I am on Twitter at Wolf of Cherno. I like to do basically this podcast. I'm working on a Division cosplay currently, so you can see my progress on that as well. And from time to time, I post screenshots, random funny videos, and different edited things. I like to do artwork of the Division on there, so if you guys want to follow me on there, it's Wolf of Cherno on Twitter. And yeah, that's basically all I do over there for the Division. But basically, I feel like that is a good ending for the show tonight. But thank you all for everybody coming out tonight. Smoke, Deadman, Joker, and everybody else that has stopped in the chat. We all appreciate you taking your time out of your day to come and listen to us banter about different topics and bantering with us and talking about different fun things that are coming up in the games that we all know and love. And yeah, I guess that's a good farewell. Do you guys think?
Yes, sir.
Alrighty. Well, thank you guys again for all stopping in tonight. and we will definitely see you all in the next episode of The Divisionary, episode 2 coming soon. So talk to you guys later.